At the end of this video, we'll take a look at Mad Ramp's innovative pivoting ramp system, the safer, easier way to transport your ATVs and snowmobiles. Stick around. Before we begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friends at the historic Lancaster Motel in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Lancaster Motel has been serving snowmobilers since the 60s, and they are the perfect eastern trail riding destination for snowmobilers young and old. The Lancaster Motel is right on Corridor Trail 5 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, with plenty of parking for vehicles, sleds, and trailers. Plus, the Lancaster Motel is within walking distance of Crane's Snowmobile Museum, plus restaurants, shopping, entertainment, and more. Click the link in the description to learn more about the Lancaster Motel. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here tonight. I have a full slate of vintage snowmobile entertainment in store for you tonight. But before we get to all that, I want to make sure that everything is working properly. So if you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to make a comment. Please tell me where you're viewing this from. Also, let me know whether you are a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. Now, to our first-time viewers, I thank you so much for stopping by to check this out. I hope that you enjoy it and have a good time. I also hope that you decide to join us each and every week. We're here 9 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday night. Also, to our regular viewers, I thank you so much for stopping by every week and being a part of this. Could not do this without you. You guys are amazing. I love you. And this is just the greatest thing that people come by here every week. So we've got a flood of comments coming in. Let's take a look. We've got Boone Belke from Barneveld, Wisconsin. Thank you for stopping by. We've got John Spranger Jr. from Eland, Wisconsin, regular viewer. John and I have been emailing this week, and he sent me some footage that I'm going to be sharing with you next week. So thank you so much, John, for sharing that. And to all the viewers, be sure to check in next week to watch that footage that he has shared with us. Stephen DeGear loves the old sleds. Well, thank you, Stephen. We appreciate that. Our good friend Brian Robillard from Putnam, Connecticut. I was just chatting with Brian today as well. Brian has been sending us a lot of footage. He's been on here live, and there's just more and more of that to come. We were chatting about that very thing today. So thank you for that, Brian. Look forward to doing more in future episodes. Alden Banks says, good evening. And Alden, I believe, is a regular viewer. I believe I've seen that name on here before. Joe Mikowski, regular viewer from Thompson, Connecticut. David Siniff from Bay City, Michigan. home of the Bay City Rollers. And I'm going to be sharing some information that David sent to me last week. I'm going to be sharing that a little later in the program. Michael Obermeyer, OBS Speed Shop, is in the house. Well, thank you for coming on, Michael. And if there's a link or anything, you're welcome to share it in the comments here. Anything about your business, as long as it's related to vintage snowmobiles, and keep it clean. That's all I ask. People are more than welcome to post items for sale and wanted. And if you've any kind of a business that is related to vintage snowmobiles, please share it in the comments. And people who are viewing this, maybe check in every few days, because this gets viewership by the Facebook and YouTube algorithms over the next few days, and comments will continue to roll in. So if you've made a comment with an item for sale or an item wanted, come in and check a couple of days later, 2 or 3 days later, and see if someone has responded to it. Joe Makowski from Thompson, Connecticut. Thank you for coming on, Joe. Stephen DeGear from Northern Canada. Outstanding. Perry Chemnitz, a regular viewer from Pembina, North Dakota. I lost my place here. Things are coming in so quickly that it makes the screen bounce. Nick Kafez, loud and clear from Shelby Township, Michigan. Our good friend Patrick Goodrow, who was on here a few weeks ago. Thank you for coming on, Patrick. Bill Crowell from Pensford, Minnesota. We also have Brian Van Haverbeek. Glad to see the show tonight. He said he can hear us loud and clear from Mount Bridges, Ontario. Carrie and Carl Iskey from Lincoln, Nebraska. Scott Verdon from Hudson, Michigan. How you doing, Scott? He's a regular viewer. Our friend Brett Esseltine, he and I have spoken and emailed over the past few months from Bridgeport, New York, regular viewer. Thanks for coming on, Brett. John Wernsdorfer from Virginia Beach, Virginia, regular viewer, and I thank you for being a regular viewer. George Papillon from Montreal, Quebec. That's just about an hour and a half from here. You're just a stone's throw away if you have a good pitching arm. But I thank you for coming on, George. Scott Haston from Wasilla, Alaska. Tougher to catch at 5 p.m., I bet, with 5 hours difference. I appreciate your coming on, and I appreciate the email that you sent me a while back. I've been working on some of those contacts, and I thank you for that. Kevin Olson, regular viewer, thank you for coming on. Michael Obermeyer from Wallkill, New York. Alden Banks, loud and clear. Alden is a regular viewer. We have Eric Goff from Bethel, Maine. Dan Godfrey from Brainerd, Minnesota. Stacy and Art Fosler from Platkill, New York. Just a few more here, and we're going to get right into the programming. David Rappa from New Jersey. Jim Gauchione, regular viewer from Lee, Mass. Lyndon Dewey from Stillman Valley, Illinois, regular viewer. And Michael Obermeyer, hello to the Foslers. And, we've got more coming in. Wow. Well, I'm going to do this one here, and then I'm going to cut to the first item that we have on the agenda, and I'll keep popping these on the screen just so that we can get the program going. But this is George Zandbelt from Winchester, Ontario, and he's got a 444 Husky. And maybe you could send us some video of that at some point, George. If you do, please hold your cell phone horizontally for a wide shot and not a vertical shot. It's a lot easier to work with horizontal footage, but that goes to everyone else who has vintage sleds. If you want to take your smartphone and do a walk around of your sled, just walk around the sled and talk it up like you're telling a friend about it. Please share it with me, and I would love to have it here on the podcast. All I ask is please hold your cell phone horizontally for a wide shot and not a vertical shot. It's really hard to work with vertical footage. But we've got a few more comments, but let's get right into the program, shall we? I'll pop those comments on the screen here in just a moment. So we've got some footage that was shared to me by my good friend Doug out in Ogemaw. Tripping over my words here. Doug out in Michigan, West Branch, Michigan. Every year they host a Vintage Snowmobile Show, and this was their 53rd gathering of the Ogemaw Hills Ogemaw Hills Snowmobile Club. They've been having this vintage show for quite a few years now. Let's take a look at some footage from that show. It's going to take a second here to bring it on. Add it to the...
Everybody help when it comes to unloading. Getting ready for the 2021 Ogemaw Holy mackerel, Andy. Yes, people. What a beautiful turnout. So nice.
my mic on. Sorry, guys. Technical issues. I didn't have my mic on there. I'll start over. The comment on the screen is from our good friend Doug Lubon. Doug is the organizer of the event that you were just watching. Ogemaw Hills Snowmobile Club puts on a vintage snowmobile event every year, and these guys really know how to put on a good vintage snowmobile show. And one of the people affiliated with them, Michelle Meyer, took all of that footage and edited that footage into that presentation, and she did a dynamite job. I wanted to thank her for that. Now I'm getting comments that people can't hear me. Hopefully, since I turned my mic back on, they can. If someone can make a comment that if you can hear me, I would really appreciate it, just to let me know whether or not I've resolved this audio issue. Richard Knox is on. So I'm assuming right now that people can hear me, but yeah, that footage. I lost my train of thought with all of this. I apologize. Hopefully you guys. Okay, Dick Rollison says that he can hear me, so that's what the information that I was looking for. Okay, here we go. We're getting people commenting here that they can hear me. Doug Lubon, and Doug Lubon is the organizer of that event we were just looking at. That happened just a few weeks ago, the 27th of February. And if you were intrigued by that at all, and if you were in the Midwest, this is very much a show worth attending. The next one is going to be February the 26th, 2022. And if you are anywhere near West Branch, Michigan, make a point to go see it, because these guys really know how to put on a good show. And we're getting comments here now that people can hear us, so we really appreciate that. Good deal. We are back in business, and thank you so much, everyone, for these comments. Outstanding. You guys are the best when it comes to cooperating and let me know where we are. Yeah, I know what you mean about the train always gets derailed. It's not too hard at this age to have a senior moment. I'm not quite a senior, but I have the moments. But anyway, let's get back to where we were here. I'm going to put this graphic on the screen. We're now in the announcements portion of the show. Now, we were going to have someone on live this evening, but he wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. But he's a name that many of you are probably familiar with, Mike Mahar. He is a very big player in the vintage space in the Midwest. He is the organizer of Central Minnesota Pond Racing. Many of you are probably familiar with that. I've aired some of their racing videos on this channel. He also publishes the Vintage Snowmobile Club of America magazine. And if you've not seen this magazine, it's a really nice magazine. Just look on Google, search on Google for Vintage Snowmobile Club of America magazine, and you'll find it. This is a really high quality, glossy, heavy paper magazine. Just every page of it is just really a delight to view, both the images, the stories, and coverage of all sorts of events and happenings in the vintage scene. And we're going to have him on hopefully next week. We were planning to have him on tonight, but we were having some technical issues we just couldn't get resolved in time, unfortunately. But this does happen. But we hope to have him on next week, so do stay tuned for that. He's someone you're really going to want to hear about. Now, as far as the other announcements here, before we get into some more videos, we've got a few sleds for sale. You've probably seen these before. This is a Arctic Cat Panther for sale by Crane's Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire. If you're curious about this sled, give a call to the number on the screen, 603-443-7272. Also for sale by Crane's Snowmobile Museum in Lancaster, New Hampshire, this older Polaris snowmobile with the rear engine. These go back to probably the late 50s, early 60s. I'm not sure of the exact year of that, but it's in that neighborhood. If you're curious about that, give him a call at the number on your screen. Now, there's going to be a Vintage Snowmobile Show this coming weekend. It's put on by the people at the Kingdom Grill in Island Pond, Vermont, right there at the pavilion in Island Pond. If you're familiar at all with Island Pond, you know where the pavilion is. It's right on the waterfront. Ask anyone in town where the pavilion is. They'll point you where to go. And this show goes from 11 to 3, I believe, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I'm planning to be there taking some footage. That's only half an hour from here. So I encourage you to come enjoy this show. And if you happen to see me there, please come up and say hi to me. I would love to meet you. All I ask is if I'm videotaping with someone, please let me finish before you approach me. But as long as I'm not videotaping with someone, by all means, please come up to me and say hi. I would love to meet you. Next announcement, we've got some sleds here for sale by Pat Yulee. Now, Pat Yulee has these Johnson and Evinrude, also Suzuki snowmobiles. These were his late grandfather's in his Wisconsin barn. All of the motors on these sleds turn over. His grandfather passed away not too long ago, and he's inherited these sleds. He's wanted to know what these are worth, and they're also for sale. So if you're curious about these, or if you'd like to check in with Pat about the values of these sleds, do reach out to them. All you have to do to find Pat is search for Pat Yulee on Facebook, and you'll find his profile and contact him there. And if you do make an offer on these sleds, these were his grandfather's sleds, so please make as generous an offer as you're able to, because there is some emotional attachment to this. Please no lowballs on that. Also for sale, a 1973 Evinrude snowmobile with the 35 rotary engine. Everything works on it except for the primer. This is located in Bay City, Michigan. If you're curious about this, contact David at 989-225-2728. So where are we? Oh, one more announcement. We've got only 2 more episodes left of this season. I'm planning to do this, these live podcasts every winter. And then during the summer months, the warmer months, I'm going to air rebroadcasting of the old episodes, just because the summer months, the interest tapers off. And also I've got other things I'm into. I'm not able to do it all year. But this time slot, I plan to utilize every single week with Vintage Snowmobile programming. For the most part, it will be reruns, but I may pop up from time to time with something because I've got some good footage or someone who'd like to come on that is worthy of having a look at. So I just wanted to let you know about that this is what is happening with this program. We will be going into reruns here beginning in April. So next up, we've got Tom Peters being inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame this past September. Now, Tom Peters was not able to attend due to the COVID restrictions. His doctor would rather he not go out and be a part of this, so he asked Mark Belanger to stand in his place to receive the award. So let's take a look at that in real time as that award was given out.
All right, our next inductee is Mr. Tom Peters, who can't be here to accept this award today. Tom has some health issues, and his doctor recommended that he not, get in with a crowd of people with this COVID thing. So he's home. Wished he could be here with us, and we wished he could be here with us. But he asked Mark Belanger to step in for him. So Mark, my friend Mark, is going to come up here and accept this plaque for Tom Peters. Come on up, Mark.
Hey.
I got to read it. Yeah, I got to read it. All right. Tom Peters, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame for 2020. Tom was a small-town independent driver who raced entirely within the borders of the state of Maine during his 5+ years of professional snowmobile racing. He rode to a 3rd-place finish in cross-country at Mapleton, Border, 1966 370 twin-cylinder Ski Doo, and to a 1st-place finish in cross-country in the Class C division at Island Falls in 1968. Tom competed with the best Eastern drivers at the 1970 Paul Bunyan Open, taking 2nd in the 650 class, and as the eventual winner Cal Reynolds told later, Tom gave me the race of my life. Tom raced to a 1st in Class A, a 1st in Class D, and a 2nd in the Open class at Ellswood in 1970. He won both Mod 3 and Mod 4 in speed ovals, plus 1st in the Mod 4 drag race at Limestone in 1971. Won 1st place in both Mod 1 and Mod 2 at Holton, and captured the prestigious Buckingham Trophy at the Maine Maritime Snowmobile Championships in 1972. Coming out of retirement in 1976, he won another cross-country race in Presque Isle against much younger drivers. Tom Peters was recognized for his achievements and is the only snowmobile racer in the state of Maine's history to be inducted in 2018 into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame. Tom was a hometown hero in northern Maine. I had about 2 phone calls, and they said Tom Peters was our hero, and he conducted himself in sportsman-like conduct everywhere he went. And even though his record doesn't show it, Tom Peters believes, I believe that he needs to be in this Hall of Fame because he was a hero to many local people in northern Maine. And if he's inducted into the Maine State Motorsports Hall of Fame as the only snowmobile racer to be in there, then he needs to be in this Hall of Fame as well. Tom Peters is a heck of a nice guy. I wish he was here.
So I told Tom this morning I put on 3 pairs of socks to fill these shoes. And he said he was only a size 9, so we'll see if we can get through this. Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2020. It is with great disappointment and sadness that I cannot be here in person today to accept this nomination with all the years of inductees. To Paul and Midge, I know this has been said many times, but you guys are the greatest to have the insight to honor all of us, now old warriors of winter, from the Eastern U.S. First, I would like to congratulate all the previous inductees that you see up here on the wall. That includes some of the greatest snowmobile races ever in any part of our country. Also, congratulations to all the fellow inductees of 2020 class. Being a low-budget independent, I raced primarily in northern Maine and in the Maritimes, in the Canadian Maritimes, where there were a few USSA-sanctioned events. Being 5 or 6 hours away from these made it prohibitive to attend all of them every year. Next, I would like to dedicate my induction to my longtime friend and mentor, the late Leo Kiefer, who we lost 3 years ago on August 12, 2017, and also his partner, Lionel Plord of Kiefer and Plord, for having the confidence in me to sell me some of the rare and great racing sleds and providing me with a place to work on my machines for the support they gave me. I need to acknowledge my wife's brother-in-law, Ron Thibodeau, who was very instrumental in getting me hooked on sled racing in the mid-60s. A couple of years ago, I was inducted into the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame as the only snowmobile racer ever inducted, which was a thrill of a lifetime. But to be included in this group is legendary. To be included in this group of racers is legendary and a privilege and an honor of a lifetime. There are many people to thank making this possible. We as drivers could pick up the Monday morning paper, race results, and see our accomplishments and see our names in the spotlight, but never in these listings did you ever see the people who deserve as much credit for the contribution given as to these. It may have been family members, mechanics, pit people, etc., whose names never did show up. So thank you to all who were involved and made it possible. To my wife of nearly 57 years, thank you for all of the support while working on the sleds many nights, and I was away from home many weekends, chasing another win. To her and my mother Rose, who saved all the pictures and news clippings and memorabilia that I have today to share with the many as well today. To our 4 grown grandchildren, Lisa, Carmen, and Tommy II, and our 5 grandchildren, Emma, Zane, Sadie, Charlotte, Isabel, for supporting their old grand. I also need to thank my 1972 racing partner, Don Chandler, for his dedication to bringing winning sleds to the track week in and week out, for countless hours in fine-tuning and innovative ideas that made the sleds we raced together some of the most competitive on the track. Thank you to all the dedicated race fans, the supporters who braved some of the brutal winter weather to stand out there and watch and cheer us on. Thank you to all that are present here today to help celebrate this great honor of a lifetime for the class of 2020. Many have traveled long distances to be here and help honor all of us. In closing, I would like to pass along a great quote that was sent to me by our great friend Edward Midge Rosebrook. Be so good that you will never forget you. Thank you all.
There we go. So Tom Peters inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. Now, as we've talked about, Mark Belanger was there to accept the award for him because Tom Peters was unable to attend due to COVID restrictions. Now, Mark, if you're not familiar with Mark is one of the great sled restorers and race sled preparers of the East, and I believe both he and his family have some racing history. I've known Mark for a few years, and I've been trying to get him on here to be on the podcast. I would love to hear some of that history, that racing history that both he and his family have. And when it comes to show and tell, as far as restored sleds, custom sleds, this guy has got some of the best sleds you're ever going to see. And if you're in the Northeast and have a sled that needs restoring, he's the guy to call. Now, I was able to catch Mark for a few moments at the after party at the Lancaster Motel for a few comments. Let's take a look at that.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Belanger, and I represented Tom Peters today at the Eastern Hall of Fame induction. I received Tom's award for him today. It was a great honor to do so. I reached out to him this morning and told him I put 3 pairs of socks on so I could fill his shoes. And he shared with me that he was only a size 9. But what I know of Tom is not a lot. I met the gentleman at the Lancaster National Snowmobile Show. Him and his wife were very polite. They parked beside us inside the building. And we formed a relationship, and I feel that we will be friends forever. It was an honor for him to ask me to receive his award today. I was able to share some things that he wanted to share with the crowd. It's very unfortunate he wasn't able to make it, but like I said, I'm proud to do so. Tom and I have a gentleman's agreement, and he has a 72 293 Blizzard, which is one of the sleds that he won most of his races with, that he acquired from me. And hopefully someday I will get that snowmobile back and keep on the tradition for Tom Peters. Like I said, one of the great people that I've met in life. Sometimes life isn't all about the trophies, it's about the people that you meet, and he's on the top shelf of my trophy rack.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
So there you have it. Mark Belanger making some comments about Tom Belanger. Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging. We're all wondering, who is this Tom Belanger? We've been hearing about him, and we've heard his comments through Mark Belanger. Thankfully, I was able to, a couple of years ago, 2018, I think it was, to meet Tom at one of the induction ceremonies at the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame. I was able to get an interview with him. So I didn't want to go have all of all of this commentary about him and not have us meet him. So right now we're going to meet him. I was able to catch him for a few minutes 3 years ago at the induction ceremony. Let's meet Tom himself.
My name is Tom Peters from Presque Isle, Maine, now born and brought up in Stockholm, Maine. Raced from the mid-60s, 66 actually, through 76. Raced basically Bombardier, Ski Doo, Blizzards, owned 5 different models of them, and primarily in the 650 class, 640 and 650 class. Raced a lot of, didn't race down here with the big guys a lot. Raced, if there was local races, we used to try to hit them because made a lot of travel from Worcester County down. But I did race in Scarborough, Lewiston, Bangor quite a few times, so did cover the whole state. Never did come into New Hampshire to race. It was just too far back in the day. But I was telling some of the guys there today, the guys that were there, I said, you know, we got up in the morning, Monday morning, and we looked at the newspaper, or looked at the race results for the weekend, and there was your name. You know, if you were fortunate enough to win, there was your name. But I said, you know, that didn't happen in a bubble. There was all kinds of people behind the scenes that made that happen. But I get race results and stuff in here, and you go down through those race results, those people's names aren't there. You know, our names are there, but you know, it wasn't a one-man deal. You know, it was
a lot of people made that happen.
A lot of people to make it happen. It was quite a thing. So I really, in one of the memorable events, and Cal Reynolds and I talked about it today. We raced in Bangor, 1970. I pulled into Bangor with a car with a homemade trailer with a 1970 Blizzard on the back end of it. And here's all these tractor trailers and all these race factory teams out there. And I told the guy that I was with, I said, that owned the Ski Doo dealership. I said, I can't race here. He said, what are you talking about? I said, look at what they got. I said, here I am with a homemade trailer and a sled on it. And I said, you expect me to go out and compete against that? And he said, look, young man, he said, you put your pants on one leg at a time just like they do. He said, you go out there, and he said, you can beat them all. So I went out on Saturday, did not qualify. So Sunday they had a consolation race. And I won that consolation race by, we found some traction equipment overnight and worked till about 1 o'clock in the morning to get it on there. So I won the first heat. There was 3 heats, qualifying heats, and I won every one of them by about a quarter of a lap.
Really?
So everybody was watching then. This guy didn't qualify yesterday, and so I got into the final. Cal Reynolds was in the final. And I pushed him quite hard. He beat me by about half a ski length.
Wow.
And he was telling me today, he said that they threw that chassis away. He couldn't ride on the track. I rode the rail, and he was trying to ride on the bank. He said they had to throw that chassis away. He said there wasn't a rivet that was left tight in it.
They loosened it all up.
Loosened it all up. He said, I pounded it so hard. He said, and I don't know if you heard him say today, he was up on the bank. He looked down, and there was Tom Peters sitting on the inside rail. So it was that's one of the real good memories, you know. Racing against people like that. So
that's awesome.
But it's been it was a wonderful ride, you know. But you know, 50 years later, there's a lot of good memories.
Yeah, it's nice that it's still remembered today too. That means a lot.
And and they're gonna. I've talked to Midge there, and they're gonna put me in the 2020 category here. So
Good. Good. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so that was really cool getting to meet Tom Peters, one of the great Eastern racers from the state of Maine. Now, one more thing about Tom. He and I have been emailing here for the last month or so, been trying to get him to come on the podcast, but we're struggling with a technical issue. But at some point, I would like to have him on. I would like to hear some more of those stories. Plus, I would like to, sorry, I wanted to get that graphic up. Plus, wanted to do some show and tell with him, see some of his trophies, some of his sleds, some of his memorabilia, hear some of the stories. Just be really great to have him on. So hopefully someday soon we'll have him on. So hopefully we'll be able to resolve those technical issues. He may even be watching us here tonight. Now, we've got a couple of more videos. Before we do, let's look at some comments here. Okay, yes, Scott Haston's looking for a 78 Ski Doo 440 IFS, and I like seeing that people are posting in here with items for sale, items wanted. Also, if you've got technical questions, some technical issue you're trying to resolve on a 73 Blizzard, trying to figure out how to adjust the muffler bearings, which can be tricky, especially that year. Post it in here, and maybe someone will have an answer for you. Muffler bearings are always a beast to try to adjust correctly. Christopher Robert. Yes, if you missed that video, Christopher, once this podcast is over, just reload the page that you're on, and it should play for you, so you can view that segment. And so Scott Hastens is out west in Alaska, I believe. He's talking about a great show at Alaska Vintage Sleds, the Tired Iron in Fairbanks, Alaska. It's a show and shine, ice and snow drag, Le Mans course races, round ice ovals too. Excellent turnout, and hopes to see us all next year. And if anybody was able to get any kind of footage or images from that show, we would love to share it here on the podcast. Then, of course, Alden Banks says he met Tom Peters at the Vintage Show at Woodstock, New Brunswick. Great guy, and had a nice chat with him. Yeah, for sure. Tom is a classy guy, and that is awesome that you were able to meet him and spend a few minutes with him. Very, very cool. So where are we in the program? We are now at number 4. We're going to look at some footage from Jack Ulch. This footage was taken at the Fast Eddie Vintage Snowmobile Show just a few weeks ago. Let's take a look.
Fast Eddie's up to Houghton Lake, Michigan. Drag race today. A lot of people here as far away as Iowa. Lots in attendance. I'll try to get up by the starting line a little bit later and shoot some video from there. But it's a big turnout. Big turnout. There's Lawn Sled right there. That's a fast Yamaha. Real fast. Okay, friends, I'm going back in by the heat.
So, yes, thank you so much to Jack Ulch for that footage from the Fast Eddie show a few weeks ago out in Michigan. Houghton Lake, Michigan, I believe is where that is. Now, I'm really pleased by all of the footage that's starting to come in. People are attending shows and taking footage. We've been watching footage here for the last couple of weeks from Jack Ulch. We're about to watch some footage from Brian Robillard. He's been sharing footage. He's been going to different shows and capturing footage and sharing with us. And I'd like to encourage you to do the same. If you're going to vintage shows, vintage races, any kind of vintage event, and have your cell phone, have a cell phone camera rolling, please take some footage and share it with us. We would love to share it here on the podcast. All I ask is if you're taking footage, please hold the camera horizontally like this for a wide shot, not a vertical shot like this. It's very, very difficult to work with vertical footage. So please, if you could, as you're taking your footage, please hold it horizontally like this. Now, if you're comfortable, you're more than welcome to talk up what you're seeing, interviewing people that are exhibiting, anything like that. But if you're not comfortable with that, I understand a lot of people are not. It's okay to just walk around and get some footage, and I'll put some music under it in editing. So not a big deal if you're not comfortable talking things up. Totally cool. So we've got some more footage from Brian Robillard. Now this is footage from a vintage snowmobile show he went to a few weeks ago in Rutland, Vermont. Let's take a look at Brian's footage. There you go. Footage from Brian Robillard. Thank you so much, Brian. He is one of the great contributors of this show. He sent us so much footage, and he's been on here live, and he will again at some point in the future with some other sleds that he's got. Really appreciate that. You're a classy guy, Brian, and we appreciate you having you on the show. And like I was talking about, some of the footage that Brian sent me, he was kind of talking it up, just kind of announcing where he was, what show he was at, and walking around. And this particular footage he wasn't, which is totally cool. I just put some music under it, as you saw there, and everything's good. So whether you're able to talk up the footage or not talk it up, totally cool. I can put some music under it, and everything is cool. Next, we have some footage that was sent to me a few years ago for another project that I was working on. Greg Dobberke from out in Wisconsin. He is a huge fan of twin tracks, and he's got some twin track sleds. He also has a lot of twin track footage. I'd like to get him on at some point as well to look at some of his twin track sleds. But let's take a look at this footage that he sent me a few years ago.
Here is a 1974 racing Manta. Owner's name is on the front. Don Schroeder. Double on the front was the logo for the Bojack Steakhouse that sponsored the team. This sled is one of 2 surviving members of a 3-sled race team. Sled has the original helmet. The duck on the helmet was because of the original owner's name, Don Schroeder. The nickname Donald Duck. The sled was raced 1 season, mostly out west in British Columbia. The artwork on the sled and helmet was done in 1973 prior to the 74 racing season. The sled has the original motor, a Sachs 440 RX free air. It's loud and it's fast. Has the dual carbs and dual exhaust. If you'd like to learn more about this sled and other twin track sleds, please visit twintrackworld.com, the official website for Raider, Manta, and Trail Roamer snowmobiles. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you at upcoming events.
So yes, thank you so much to Greg Dobberke for that cool twin track footage. And like I said, he is big in the twin track space. He does that website, twintrackworld.com. If you like twin track stuff at all, do check that out, twintrackworld.com. Now, as I'm watching that footage of that video, it's got me wondering. I've never driven one of those twin tracks. For anyone viewing this who has, what were those like to drive? How did those handle? Did they feel fast? Were they stable? What was it like to drive those? If anyone's ever driven one of those, I would love to hear from you and hear what that experience would be like. Yeah, we've got some more comments coming in. Brian is making comments. Very Very cool. Very cool. Thank you guys so much for that. So the last item here on the agenda is some footage of a 1972 Ski Doo TNT 775 from the Vintage Machines YouTube channel. Let's take a look. Yeah, how cool was that? I don't know about you, but I could smell that two-stroke. I love the sound of that engine. I bet that thing really hauls you know what. Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, this concludes our broadcast day. I thank you so much, guys, for joining us. You guys are the best. And be sure to tune in next week, same time, same bat channel, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the Vintage Snowmobile Lovers Facebook page. This also simulcasts in 8 other places. And if you're tuning in there, I thank you for doing so. We're going to wrap it up, but I appreciate all of you coming on. We'll catch you on the other side. And right now we're going to have a word from our friends at Mad Ramps.
It's the ultimate combination of simplicity and ingenuity. The newest way to load, unload, and transport your ATV or UTV. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Made in the USA and engineered for strength and durability. Maneuver through tight places and over rugged terrain with plenty of ground clearance. No licensing, no ongoing maintenance costs, and no storage hassles like trailers. Won't slip or move like conventional ramps. Free up more cargo space in the bed of your truck. Securely connects to your truck's receiver hitch. Easily extends for safe loading and unloading. Seamlessly retracts for highway and off-road travel. DOT approved in all 50 states and Canada. Quickly disconnects in under a minute. A unique space-saving storage system. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Go farther. Go faster. Go safer.
When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs.